Hello everyone, this is Gynarchy Awakening. I wasn't expecting to do a video like this. I mean, I've already done several videos in the past 24 hours. I thought I was over this. I was going to move on and try to do something else. But then somebody posted a comment, and I do want to be fair to the commenter as well as the others because I want to make it clear where I stand. I stand with them, but I also want to say that I get it. I know how it feels to have people, coming in, posting negative comments, reporting posts, like basically putting everything that you do under a fine tooth comb. And it's extremely difficult to take the high road when you're in that situation. I sympathize. Um, I've definitely had those thoughts myself about, doing to them what they've done to me. Particularly, I had those thoughts about some of the more mean-spirited comments that I read from people in the femdom community. I think it was over a week ago. They had posted something. They talked trash about my videos. Obviously, they were talking trash about the community, and part of me, I have a yin and a yang, and the yang part of me had this, it would have loved for nothing more than to see their comments flagged, to flag the primary, the original discussion post, and to claim it's inciting harassment. Even though I didn't actually have anybody who came over, that could also just be because about 20 or 30 minutes after it was posted, I immediately told people what would happen if they came over here and gave any trouble to me or to the others. Uh, but yet I didn't flag them. I didn't try to, post negative comments or comments in their stuff. I don't post at social media in general. I've made that a rule of mine, but I also don't report posts either. The reasoning for the question, of course, is something along the line, and I'm not going to actually use that as the title of the video because I don't need these individuals coming here giving me or other people a hard time. The question asks, should we collectively comment with female supremacist remarks under the posts of masculinists from men's rights? Now, the context or some of the other information is that in the past, he's calling them masculinists pushed negative comments and they reported posts. He believes that by uh, making remarks under their posts, that it will make their echo chamber crumble, and that'll make the mods job or the moderators job of that group harder. I don't. I want to say this. I know how it feels. Okay, I've had the same feelings. In fact, I've my thoughts that I've wanted to do to people who have messed with my group or my community have been way, way, way pettier and more violent than this. Um, and yet at the same time, I think that our group is not in a particularly strong position from which to do this. And here's what I mean by this. Okay, let's leave because this does look like revenge or the desire to take revenge. Even if that's not the intention of the poster. In fact, it's most likely not, because they mentioned something about activism. So I don't think that revenge was part of or the primary motivation. Although I do think that the individual is angry, and again, I understand. I wake up every day and I feel angry. I I know how hard it can be to not lead with the anger, especially since I escaped from one of these groups. I managed to get away from them before they turned me into a giant ball of hate. So this is kind of very personal for me. These people basically fucked my life up, and nothing would make me happier than seeing a lot of them thrown in prison, and being labeled a hate group and having police officers essentially hound them down for anything and everything. Nothing could make me happier because when you're talking about, I mean, the fact that these individuals have been, hey, they talk about killing lawyers, they've talked about murdering people. Nothing would make my day more than electing a government that brands many of these individuals as terrorists and having them arrested. And that's one thing they often do as well. They accuse other people of being terrorists, but they regularly talk about mass murder events or that there should be bodies in the streets and stuff like this. So, um, I want to put the activism revenge aside for a moment, and I want to kind of explain why I don't do it. Why do I not comment on their videos? Why do I not associate this with these people? It's not because of trauma or not trauma. It's because I believe that in any interaction that takes place between these two groups, gynarchists are going to be the ones who are unfairly judged in that situation. And part of the reason why is because the tech world is a male dominated world. And I've had some very grave concerns about people from the tech world uh, disproportionately punishing or screwing around with those groups. In fact, with the existence of the Gynarchy group, I've been very concerned about that because so many people have gathered, they've come together, and while that's something that's an accomplishment, I am concerned about this idea that this person is positing, saying that it'll make their echo chamber crumble. First of all, I disagree with that. There were people who were commenting in their groups before. It did not make their echo chambers crumble one bit. This is a different kind of animal that you're dealing with here. Some of these individuals are personality disordered. Anytime you hit them or they perceive to have been hit, all they know how to do is hit back. I had a family member who suffered from NPD, and so I would strongly suggest that any action you take with very careful consideration when it comes to those people because they do suffer from disorders. They a lot of them do not, and they've even admitted that they don't have moral limitations that they place on much of their behavior. They don't. I've even watched one video where a guy essentially said, "I don't believe in taking the high ground." So that's something you should keep in mind when you're dealing with those individuals. I also believe that Gynarchy should be a positive, or rather, the Gynarchy movement should be a place where we're positively building things. I also don't like the idea that going around and dealing with people from another group, you know, like getting a bunch of people together to go type in another group, to make comments in another group. You know, I I do worry that the focus to me shouldn't be on them. It shouldn't be on the damage that they're doing. Just that. What have we done for our community to strengthen unity and to ensure that if something bad happens, we can always have a place to go? Because if that group goes, I mean, that's one of the only groups that I can think of that has a regular level of not only attendance, but that seems to have a lot of people when they want to go and they want to gather for their community, they tend to go there. And I've been worried that I was going to wake up one day and it was going to be deleted or gone because somebody found a post that to exploit or uh, were looking for any kind of weakness that they could to take the group down. And this could, you know, you always want to believe that your group's going to stay up, but you don't always know. I've always been very skeptical and even cynical about about the Gynarchy community having anything less than their own website. And I mean a community-based website. I think instead of having this discussion, and I do want to, I think it'd be better to have discussions about establishing, building a Gynarchy community website. so that if somebody decides that that website, that group on Reddit, that it's their time to go, you have something that a bunch of Gynarchists can go to. Because what's going to end up happening is if that group gets deleted, of course you'll have people in chats who can talk to each other and say, what the hell happened? People who are doing that, but not everybody is interacting in that way. And so these people are either going to find other groups to be part of, or they're going to head somewhere else for whatever they need. And I worry about the possibility of sabotage, of that setting things back considerably. Sometimes I'm even worried about making videos like this because it's tough to admit it, but that group, having 2,000 members, that was even acknowledged, I believe, by other people. Even other human beings now are acknowledging that this group is getting traction, that it's been getting more people following and paying attention to it. And I think that we need to keep the focus on building stronger connections for our community. In other words, we shouldn't like thinking about how to get back at other people, which I don't know if that's what they intended, or making somebody else's job harder, or trying to disrupt an echo chamber. There is something to be said about disrupting echo chambers, but if you're going to engage in that kind of let's just call it activism, how much of that blowback is going to affect the Gynarchy community, and will that result in the possible termination of the group? Because when you make it clear that you want a bunch of human beings to go from one location, one part of Reddit, to another, I mean, that's at that point, I mean, we're talking about mass coordination of different individuals. And after you coordinate those efforts, what then? What happens when those people read your posts and they realize, oh, you want to coordinate against us, huh? And then you bring about another incident. Only this time they're coordinating attacks on you. So I think the best thing you can do in these situations is, first of all, I wouldn't do it this way. If you're going to engage with these individuals, one thing you could do is you could go undercover. You could create an account that seems misogynistic in nature, but you're actually a female supremacist or whatever. And what you could do is anytime you see comments for people who are in those groups, you can just directly chat to them or do a direct chat, and have a conversation with the individual and discuss some of the things that have been said in that group, and you could do the debunking there if you want to. I think that would be a little bit more appropriate, as opposed to showing up in mass with numbers, because they're just going to do the same thing to you. And who's going to be judged more unfairly in a situation where people are going back and forth with negative comments towards each other? I don't think it's going to be them. I actually think it's going to be us. And the reason for this is they've been tolerated on several platforms for generations, and they always come back. I've seen so many of their channels get deleted on this website in particular, and they're back at it again, or they're on other websites doing it again, or they're on other websites. Every time you try to squash one, 5 or 6 more take their place. It's not going to stop it. They just continue to. It's like no matter what you do, they're not going anywhere. They're here to stay, whether we like it or not. And I wish that wasn't the case, but that's what happens in our culture now. Is there some blowback against them? Yeah, you have big YouTube commenters now that are talking about the negatives that come out of this community and the problems that community has brought for the rest of society. So there are people doing it, and they have a lot more reach, they have a lot more influence, and they're a lot harder to take down. But when you're talking about us, we're a minority group. Most people wouldn't miss us if our group was deleted overnight, or if somebody took a post out of context or decided to lie and say, oh, you did this when you didn't actually do that. So I think that the focus should be on how do we get a community website built? I think that would be better. Focusing on getting a community website built so we can strengthen the connections to community, so we can increase, so we can provide a better. I think I think of it like a safety net, right? So if something bad happens, like they delete the group or they do something, everybody can fall back onto that, and there's nothing really other people can do about that unless they want to, because it's your website. It's owned by a Gynarchist. They're not going to be able to do jack shit. When it's Reddit, it's not really yours. If somebody wants, if you know, it's the owner of Reddit and the people who run Reddit, they're the individuals who are tolerating your existence. If they decide, and I've seen it happen on YouTube as well. This is not the only website that's like this, and this is why I get very concerned. I'm extremely concerned about the continued growth of the community, because I remember watching some YouTubers back in the day who made videos. They were making fun of Elliot. I think the YouTuber in particular was making fun of Elliot Rodger, and his YouTube channel was flagged and deleted. He did not break YouTube's terms of service. He did not do anything wrong. They just got rid of him. They don't have to tell you the real reason why they're getting rid of you. They can just give you the reasons, and even if you disagree, channel's gone. And I believe that the people at Reddit, if they really wanted to, they could do the same damn thing. So before you start doing anything, you should really consider your position in society, how other people perceive you and are looking at you, and also what do your people have to go left to? What do your people have left if it happens? Where are the spaces and places that we can go to engage in regular communication? Because I don't think that's a positive kind of activism, and I understand the anger, believe me. Yet at the same time, I think we need to start addressing the weaknesses in our community and dealing with that first before we attempt to engage in any kind of what I can only call aggressive activism, because this is aggressive when whether you're taking an aggressive action, and it will be seen aggressively. So can if before you even get there, having your own website for your own people, run by your own people, I think that's one of the very first weaknesses the Gynarchy community needs to address. In fact, that's what I'm going to call the video. Like one of the greatest weaknesses of the Gynarchy community is simply that we don't have our own community website. If we had that, we would be better off than we are right now, because essentially, and I know it sounds fucked up to say, but this is how it is. Gynarchists are being allowed to communicate and have their own groups because of the generosity and tolerance of the people at YouTube, at FetLife, at all these other places, but that could change at any time. So having your own website where you can go and do whatever you want to do and say whatever you want to say and not have to worry about these kinds of things, that's part of the problem, right? You're talking about negative comments and reported posts. Well, if you own the website, no matter how many times they report the post, the only way those reports are just going to go to the owner of the website. So if you're a Gynarchist and they're reporting your posts, all the best they can't get rid of the content itself. They can try to give one user or two users a bad day, but it's different when it's on Reddit or another group, because if they continue to post negative comments and they're trying to keep reporting posts and they're looking for weaknesses, sooner or later they could try to find a way to take your group down. But it's a lot harder with a website. So that's what I think that we need to focus on. We need to focus on shoring up weaknesses and not attempting to try to discredit others or to tear others down or to pierce through echo chambers, because there is an appeal to that. There is an appealing thought to wanting to interrupt the hateful programming, and I get that. Yet at the same time, I just feel like the community is not on as solid of a ground as maybe some think it is. I highly suggest we focus on our weaknesses first before engaging in any sort of aggressive activism. That's my personal suggestion. And as for comments, I'm not going to be commenting on social media, on other social media anyways, at least not posting public comments because of my own policies here. But I did feel the need to weigh in on this because there are two others who have essentially summed up most of my thoughts on the subject. I believe it was two Gynarchist women, and I join with them in their sentiments and their feelings. But I also wanted to talk about this weakness because it seems like almost no one else brings this up. And it's very concerning to me. We do need I do strongly believe that we need a website. And if I had the money, I would have, if, as long as there was a woman who'd take ownership of it, I'd love to do it tomorrow. Nothing would make me happier than having a Gynarchy community website where people are free to come, post discussions, videos, a place for them and them exclusively, where they do not have to rely on the tolerance and compassion and support of other people who are the higher ups in on these websites and apps and groups. Because at the end of the day, attitudes come, attitudes go. People change. We didn't used to have an anti-feminist movement, and then the internet and YouTube changed all that. First, it didn't exist, and then it was like a wave, and you never know when the wave is going to come for you. And I think that if we're going to be better than other movements, we need to learn from the mistakes of previous ones, and we also need to think about how we're going to be charged and targeted in the future. So that's just what I wanted to talk about. Please take care, everybody, and I hope you have a great day.